And I sort of didn't tell you the exact truth later when I said, earlier when I said I'd give you one homework assignment, I'm actually going to give you two. So here's my second. It's important for the school districts in your communities to seize upon the race to the top opportunity as a way to gain additional funding and support for the work before us and to deepen the work that will impact all of Ohio's children. I'll get to my first primary one at the end of my speech. I want to consider just the following statistics to put a name on this. And when I do, and when we look at this data, I want you to think about the students who are at this table behind us, because the decisions that we make each and every single day are focusing on their future. The decisions that we make about the work that we do, how the leadership is going to impact the philosophies and policies in our school district, impact those students back there. One of our primary goals is to increase high school graduation rates by 0.5% each year to achieve a statewide graduation rate of roughly 88%. And that may not seem like a big goal, but let's put a number to that. More than 22,000 Ohio students failed to graduate with the class of 2008. 22,000 students. By increasing the graduation rate that year alone by just 0.5%, an estimated 600 additional students would have graduated with their class in just that year. If we reduce the graduation rates by 50% between white and black students, there's a huge gap there in the state of Ohio. If this gap had been reduced by 50%, an additional 2,900 black students would have graduated in that year alone. These are significant for each and every one of those kids who is not graduating. I won't go into further details, but again, if you pick up this independent guide, you will see the bodacious goals that we have before us. And those goals impact every single one of our communities, whether we have a high graduation rate or not, because we still have students whose needs are not being met, even in our highest performing school districts. In Ohio, we have already made education a priority, so it's now important for us to demonstrate this support for education reform in our Phase 2 Race to the Top education application. Because we know that education is a collective endeavor. It's not just about the people who are employed in the school district. It's about each and every person in a community, because a community is known by the schools that it supports and it nurtures. And let me be clear, this work, our goals, are not about gaining access to mediocrity. That's not what this is about. This is about throwing open the doors of opportunity and excellence for all of Ohio's children, and never being able to look in the face of a child again and saying, "We failed you." As a beginning teacher, one of the things that I learned is that to truly keep kids at the center of my work, I had to recognize that each student has a unique set of learning needs. The challenges that I faced then and still before us, and the challenges that all educators face every single day, is to create an educational environment that meets these different learning needs. So let me share just one brief story that represents the challenges we face daily. But it's a story that takes a little bit different of a turn, because very often when we share stories, it's kind of about the downtrodden students, the ones who are the most challenged coming to us. But this is a story about a student, Robert, who I met many, many years ago in another state, so it's not reflective of a school district in Ohio. When I first met Robert, I was actually developing a gifted program in a school district that was in a suburb of a large city in Connecticut. And I met Robert through his teacher, George, who was probably the best thing that happened to Robert in that school year. Robert was in 4th grade when I met him. And I met him through George when George called me in the second week of school and said to me, "We have an issue here because I have a very bright student, Robert, who ended up taking home the science textbook over the weekend, and he read it, and he found 4 errors in it." So he said, "The best I can come up with is to write a letter to the publisher, explain what the errors were, correct them," and he said, "Now I'm done. I don't have any tricks left in my bag to help Robert. What am I going to do for the rest of the year?" So I went over and I met a very engaging child, sort of an awkward, socially inept child, who had a brain that was just beyond anything I could even imagine, and who also had a love for poetry. And throughout the course of that year and the next couple of years, we kept Robert on track by curriculum compacting, which was not differentiating instruction, which was really not in vogue at the time. And so Robert was taking all kinds of advanced math courses at an area college and with an AP instructor from the high school. And then Robert went to our junior high school, which was 7th and 8th grade. And Robert did junior high school in 1 year, not 2. So at the end of that year, I saw his principal and I said, "Wow, Robert must be so excited for graduation." And in New England schools, graduation from 8th grade is a huge event, alike and pretty similar to graduation from high school in Ohio. And he looked at me rather quizzically, and he said, well, there's not going to be a graduation for Robert. He can't attend our graduation because he physically was not present for 2 years of school. I was appalled. So this is a great example of how our own policies get in our way of our belief system about kids. I was appalled, and I didn't know what to say. I didn't know what to say when Robert's mother called me later that day when she found out he could not attend graduation. And so what did he do? He enrolled in the local private school. I share this story with you to tell you that we have all kinds of students whose needs aren't being met. And so very often we talk about the children who are the most challenged, who come to school ill-prepared. And many of those students drop out. But we also have students who drop into other settings because our own settings get in the way of their learning. And we have yet to figure out how to construct an educational system which really becomes personalized and which truly is going to meet the needs of individual students. So here's my challenge in closing to you, and here's your homework assignment. Never forget that students are our future. They will be the ones who continue to make Ohio a vibrant place in which to live and work. They will help us to shape policies and define our economy in Ohio and throughout the world. And this is my challenge that I leave with you today. All of us, every person in this room, and anyone you can grab as your next-door neighbor, needs to demonstrate a collective commitment to Ohio's children. We have to exercise a compassionate commitment, not just to the kids who love to come to school, not just to the kids who look the best or smell the best, but who do everything that they are asked to do in school. We have to reach out to our students and demonstrate and offer compassion for those kids who come to school unprepared, scared, or those kids who have lost their way. Those kids who come with so much baggage because of their personal life that it's difficult for them to concentrate, particularly with an empty stomach. We have to exercise compassion for those kids who, like Robert, haven't yet found their way, even though others believe that they have everything in the world going for them. And we have to recognize in an era of accountability that behind every piece of data is not just a face, but a child's heart and a child's soul. We have to never forget that we still have to grow kids' hearts in an era of accountability. We have to figure out how to ensure that they develop the capacity to love others, and then in the absence of that love, to learn to respect others, so that we no longer have to hate others through their words or fight those issues that come about in schools such as yours. So where do I think that this solution lies? It lies in each one of us, not separately, but collectively. We have to rise above the pessimism that we feel in a strained economy. We have to rise above those who believe that public schools have lost their way. We have to rise above those who continue to be naysayers. We have to be the voice for our kids in our community, especially those who walk into our schools with their eyes cast downward. So it's up to all of us in this room and to our neighbors and our community members to ensure that our children have the 21st century knowledge and skills needed for success in college and the workplace, and to make sure that they believe in themselves to pursue their dreams. Our collaborative mission has to be very clear: to graduate every student with a sense of purpose and be well prepared for college, for career, and for life. So again, in closing, I ask you to link arms, walking out of the room, and that you will join me in enhancing the education system of Ohio so that all of our students benefit. And I want to thank you for providing me the opportunity to speak in such a rich history of the Cleveland City Club. And I thank you for your continuing and deep support of Ohio's education system. But most especially, I thank you for believing in the hearts of our children. Thank you.